Massive trade news incoming as the Devils have been linked to Islanders defenseman Noah Dobson in exchange for defenseman Shimon Nemec. Leaves plenty of questions for GM Tom Fitzgerald as that March 7th trade deadline looms. I'm Ryan the Goose Gosiker, your host here on Devils Digest. We're going to break it all down today, what it means for the Devils specifically, what they could potentially be getting in a player like Dobson. We'll get into all of that. But first, I want to give you a chance to be one of our first subscribers here on Devils Digest. We'll get into the show after you hit that subscribe button. So the New Jersey Devils have been linked to defenseman Noah Dobson, mostly due in part to this tweet that came out about the Devils and Islanders talking about this mega deal. And I almost wonder if it would be Dobson for Nemec and something else potentially from New Jersey, as Dobson is widely regarded as a top upper echelon defenseman in the entire league. So it would certainly be, I don't know if a one-for-one swap would be perfect, but it was a little bit debunked slightly, this rumor, by this tweet right here. Again, this is a friendly reminder that all things during the trade deadline, you got to be careful and you got to read and you got to know who to trust and who to go to. I think that this not only impacts the Devils, just obviously if they get a guy like Dobson to get an upper echelon defenseman, that's important. But I would also say I think it speaks more volumes to, wow, they're looking to move on from Shimon Nemec, because we've talked about it. There is a clog in the Devils' defensive system that we are going to break down. But first, I want to just give Devil fans a little sneak peek. If they were to get Noah Dobson, and again, the rumors will fly in between now and March 7th when the trade deadline hits. But if you want to look at some of Dobson's stats just on the year, the big thing, he eats up a ton of ice time. You see that ice time, 24 minutes of ice time per game, and he blocks a ton of shots. Last year, he was 13th in the entire league, a little bit behind that pace this year, but still, he has put up some huge numbers as a defenseman, and that's something that the Devils have needed. And again, the way Nemec has played, particularly against Dallas, the first game after the Four Nations tournament, and Vegas, the final home game before the Four Nations tournament, he just looks lost. I'm sorry. Like, he seems like a great guy, and I know he had the comments earlier this year about, how many number 2 picks are bogged down here in the AHL and stuff like that. Well, when you've gotten a chance to answer the bell, he certainly hasn't. And you can see it by his stats here. He's produced much of nothing. He's got 15 minutes of ice time, nearly 16 minutes of ice time per game, and he's sitting at a -2. And he's done not much of anything. And I know we're talking about how, he can, it's not there. It's just not there. There's no other way to sugarcoat it, beat around the bush. He is just not there in terms of what the Devils need him to be right now. And they have to eventually trade somebody, right? If they were to keep their current system with Seamus Casey, Shimon Nemec, and Santeri Hitaka, you're talking about guys like Dougie Hamilton would have to go, Brendan Dillon would have to go, and probably Jonas Siegenthaler you're looking at would have to go, right? Because you're going to lock up Luke Hughes long term. Pesci's here for a few years. So you're talking about, that's a lot of important veteran experience. Whatever you think of Dougie, I've been a big fan of Dougie. I think he needs to shoot the puck more. He has 15 shots in his last 2 games. But I don't think Dougie's going anywhere. And certainly with his cap hit, I don't think it would be reasonable to expect a trade. So, and Brendan Dillon's been good for this team this year. It's not necessarily, it's not sexy. It's not, he's not putting up 85 points this season, but he certainly potentially could be eliminating 85 points when you look at all that he does for this team and the defensive work that he does. So this Devil team doesn't seem to be going in that direction, which would then mean they'd have to trade one of these young pieces at some point. And you got to strike while the iron is hot. You have to trade these guys when they are at their most valuable, which is right now, which is why when you just look at a potential Noah Dobson for Shimon Nemec deal, again, it seems like a big win if you're the Devils. Now, again, if this is a one-for-one trade, I think it's a big win for the Devils. Leave a comment for us. What do you think? Would you go 1-for-1 here? Would the Devils have to give up more? Kind of go into some detail about that, but leave us a comment in the comment section. But this trade would send shockwaves, and it's something that the Devils need. But my concern is not necessarily their defense. I know they need some defensive help, but I think getting a liner to pair with Jack Hughes, I think that's more the realm that I'm looking to trade Simon Nemec for. Not necessarily, and again, Dobson, like I said, I think would be a great addition to this roster. I do not implore GM Tom Fitzgerald to make this deal. I don't like it. I think the Devils need that liner to go with Jack Hughes and a bottom six player before we get to the defensive side of the puck. Now, one more injury, sure. Now we're starting to talk about they need a defenseman, this, that, and the other thing. But I think it's currently constructed, this Devils team needs more offense. And you're seeing it. That Dallas game was 4-2. Devils should have at least tied that game, been close to that game. Now, the fourth goal for Dallas came on an empty netter. So it was really 3-2. And the Devils should have been closer in that game. You look at some of the missed opportunities, Timo Meier, this, that, and the other thing. What do you hear about the Devils right now? It's not, going around the league is not, oh man, their goaltending stinks, because it doesn't. It's not, oh wow, their defense is an atrocity, because it's not. It's not perfect. It's not the top of the league, but it's holding serve. The problem with the Devils right now is that they cannot finish. They cannot finish. They have to score more goals, and they have to find a way to break through against some of these teams. And in particular now on their road trip, they got to do it now and not bury themselves for when they come home, right? Because the Metro's tightening up. Everybody's getting a little bit closer, right? Columbus is getting closer, this, that, and everything else. So the Devils, I don't agree with a potential Simon Nemec for Noah Dobson deal. I really don't. I don't see the value in it currently for the Devils. If you were telling me they were getting potentially a liner to go with Jack Hughes or potentially a bottom six player, and you'd probably need both if you're not trading Simon Nemec straight up for a bottom six player. But that would entice me more necessarily and certainly would get me more excited than these trade rumors. I think the Devils need that offense. They need that finishing in order to kind of take themselves to the next level, right? Because this team has a lot of good pieces. We've talked about it. Their goaltending and their special teams, by the way. They're third in the NHL in both power play and penalty kill. The last time they did that was a year 1999-2000, and I think they were pretty good that year. I have to think back a little while, but the Devils need that finishing on the offensive end more than anything else. So if I'm Tom Fitzgerald, if I'm his right hand man, which I am not, I would implore him to not make the trade for Noah Dobson. Like I said, as has kind of been debunked here in this tweet right here, I would not make this trade. I would trade Simon Nemec for an offensive upgrade, particularly to get a liner or a winger to go with Jack Hughes and a potential bottom six pick, or use other trade pieces to get that bottom six player. But I would not do Simon Nemec for Noah Dobson. So I want you to leave us a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I'm smart? What's going on? And let us know what you think about what the Devils should do at the trade deadline. And again, a reminder, pay attention to who you are getting your information from as the trade deadline approaches, right? Everybody wants to be the first to the story. So just be smart and check out those rumors. And they're going to fly, by the way. They're going to be linked to everybody. The Devils were linked to Mika Rantanen, right? As a potential, they could trade him, like Carolina could trade him. It'd be the second time he got traded in a year. So there's going to be a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff flying around. So stay tuned for it. We're going to bring you the best content here on Devil's Digest and the best we can, and some of the best opinions out there. So stay with us. I hope you enjoyed the content. Thank you for listening, watching, whatever you're doing, wherever you may be watching and listening. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time on the next episode of Devil's Digest.